.0562 and setting an effective date. Further action is deferred on the first reading ordinances.
Okay, Terry, no special considerations. Hearings, items H1 and H2.
H1, proposed ballot title and summary of measure for initiative number 2011-4, sponsored by Citizens for a Sensible Spokane regarding possession of marijuana. H2, proposed ballot title and summary of measure for initiative number 2011-5, sponsored by Citizens for a Sensible Spokane regarding medical cannabis product regulations.
Thank you. On items H1, we have the following signed up to speak: Ed Byrnes, Dave Bilsland, Jessica, you'll have to give us your last name when you come up, and Ian Moody. So, Mr. Byrnes, or Dr. Byrnes, you have 3 minutes. Before you start, Mike, what are our options on this again, on these proposed ballot titles?
The council can go ahead and place this on the ballot on its own motion. The council can approve the title of the measure, summary of the measure, and direct the sponsors to go collect petitions. And because this is only changing the municipal code, the council could adopt this as its own ordinance and change the municipal code.
Okay, and both these initiatives have sufficient signatures, so a course of action would be to verify the signatures, or they don't have
they
the
have not
signature?
even started the signature gathering.
Okay. No. Dr. Byrnes, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, and I know that you have allowed some people to go longer. I'm just going to show you I don't have that many talking points. My interest is just to share some information, because you're going to hear various anecdotal kind of evidence from people as you consider this. So I worked with youth in the juvenile justice system for 15 years. I'm here to tell you that cannabis is about as much of a problem as we choose to make it through policy. I'm also familiar with the arguments that are put forth by the treatment industry, law enforcement, and the corrections group. So some opponents of any change in cannabis policy will argue to you that it is addictive or that it is a gateway drug. This is what I'm here to help inform you as a social scientist. Okay? A defining feature of addiction is a diagnostic manual from the APA and the International Classification of Diseases is the presence of withdrawal symptoms. There is no such thing as a cannabis withdrawal syndrome. Although that's being debated right now as to whether that should be entered into the classification of diseases, there is no consensus among the healthcare community about the presence of withdrawal symptoms from cannabis. In the absence of withdrawal symptoms, you cannot have addiction. Okay. Those who assert that cannabis is a gateway drug will often point to survey data where they survey folks who use harder drugs. That opens the door to fallacious reasoning, causal fallacy, and sampling error. Let's take a look at what the United States government has gathered through their ongoing annual surveys of drug use. And this is all through the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, their annual survey 2010 results. 11.3% of the population aged 12 and older reported using cannabis within the past year. So that's a baseline. Now, in the same year, the same population, only 1.8% of them reported using powder cocaine. That's only 16% of the proportion of cannabis users. Same year, 0.3% of the population of that same age reported using crack cocaine, which is only 3% of the proportion that endorsed using cannabis. Likewise, 0.2% of that population reported using heroin.
Doctor, you need to wrap it up, please.
Okay, I'm going to ask you because I've seen you allow other people to go longer. I have like
Doctor,
3
look,
points.
it's 10 after 10.
Okay.
Wrap it up.
Okay, well then here's what I'm going to tell you. The science tells us for 2 things. Cannabis is not addictive, there is not a withdrawal syndrome, and if this was a gateway drug, you would not see these vast differences in prevalence rates between cannabis and other drugs. So I'm giving you factual information to dissuade you from letting people tell you it's addictive or a gateway drug. Thank you.
Thank you. David Bilsland, Jessica.
Just, if I may interject for a second, just to be clear, we shouldn't be hearing anything regarding whether or not this is a good motion, a good initiative, anything about marijuana. We're just deciding whether or not to place it on the ballot, approve the ballot title.
The mechanics of it.
If you could please limit your remarks to that. That's all we're deciding tonight. The case for whether or not this is a good thing or bad thing should be made to the public when signatures are gathered.
I understand.
The only problem with that, with all due respect, Mr. Snyder, is one of our options is to just what, approve it as stated?
Yes, adopt it as
Okay.
an amendment to the municipal code.
Okay, David, go ahead.
I suggest that you go ahead and approve this for the simple reason that it will produce a lot fewer police problems. Okay, if you lower...
I think if everybody was really mellow, we wouldn't have a lot of problems, but go ahead.
In fact, I have talked to police officers, and they have said that they've never been to a DV, a domestic violence call, where the people were stoned.
I
So
agree.
enough about that. What I'm talking about is the fact that when you make it a lower priority by making marijuana an infraction, you're going to allow more people to get student loans, because if they get a misdemeanor on marijuana, they can't get a student loan. And therefore, all of society loses out with a lot of people. If we make it an infraction, that's one less ding on their record. We're going to get a lot more people that are going to start pushing and helping our country be better. You know, a lot of other people that smoke pot, like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. Thank you very much.
Jessica, please give us your last name when you come up.
McPhail, McPhail. I've been before you guys a number of times speaking about medical cannabis. It's really important that this be looked at and examined by the Spokane City Council. You don't need to be just looking at the cost of incarcerating these people at $125 a day, but you need to be looking at the effects on their families and on the community and the burden that it then puts onto the system that's already in place. So I urge you all to pass this. I also urge you to stop and take a moment to listen to the doctor who came up here to give you the information. That is very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian Moody.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Ian Moody. I am the chairperson for Citizens for a Sensible Spokane and the sponsor for both measures before you this evening. I just wanted to take this opportunity to request a legal review of both measures on behalf of the City Attorney's Office. That's all I have tonight. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bilsland, Ms. McPhail, Mr. Moody, you've also signed up for H2. Do you have anything in addition to what you've already said for H1 to reiterate for us?
To be honest, I don't remember which one is which, but I spoke to the...
H1 is possession,
Right,
and
okay.
H2 is medicinal.
Right. The medicinal is simply to bring things in line with current state law. We've seen Seattle do it. We've seen Ellensburg do it. We need to get this regulated so that these medical patients can get their medicine, which is, under state law, legal. And it's just a matter of getting, less gray. Let's get it more black and white. Because right now, people don't know what the heck to do. They know what state law is, but the city can come in and change it. I suggest you look at the Ellensburg law, and you also look at the Seattle law, and compare them. It's very similar. It's just, this is more housekeeping than anything else. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Council President, Mr. Piccolo had.
Hey, Mike.
The suggestion to the sponsor that the legal department provide a review of the legal validity was discussed probably 3-4 weeks ago. That offer was not accepted by the sponsor, so the initiatives were formatted and processed to the council. One of the options for the council is under 2.02040, the options I laid out earlier, and one of the options is to provide a legal review if requested by the sponsor. So that and the ordinance says the council may decide to do one of these four. So that is one of your options.
Mike, just to be clear, if we decide to approve the language and the title and allow it to go out for signatures, how can we also have you do the legal review. Don't we have to defer that until you've done the legal review?
Yes.
So we can't really do both tonight. So I want to make sure we're understanding the intent of the sponsor, and that is if we don't pass this and put it on the ballot as is, which I don't think we're going to do because this is out of respect to all the initiatives that has come forth through the council. It's just not what we do. Then we need to defer sending this out, approving this for signatures for there to be time to do the legal review. Is that understood by Mr. Moody? Okay, good, great.
Is that in reference to 1 or 2?
Huh?
You were speaking in reference
Both.
to number 1 or to number 2?
Both. Both.